Hello, girlfriend. We are here with Chelsey Gonzales, and we are going to have a conversation today around finances. And it happens to be January when we're recording. And so this is a time of year that we're all thinking about taxes, business, wrapping up our last year and what all that is going to look like. And one of the things that I'm really excited, Chelsey is going to be in our January issue of Courageous Women and Creative Entrepreneurs. And I'm really excited because we not only talk about the mindset and give you resources for that or your story, but we also want to give you some practical tips, practical things to take one, not 10, one brave step forward. And Chelsey has been so kind to come and to chat with us and just give us a little bit of peace of mind about how we can walk forward and what that one step might look like for you. So welcome, Chelsey. Good to see you today.
Thank you for having me. It's been delightful being a part of this magazine and get to chat with you.
Yeah, it's we had to kind of everything's a work in progress, and as we're developing this magazine, we're seeing what works and what doesn't. And I'm so glad to actually give women some practical tips. And so, but first of all, let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we're going to talk a little bit about your story because every woman who is an entrepreneur, she's got a life on the other side and what that looks like. And so tell us a little bit about you and your company and what you do.
Okay, so I am a mom and a wife, and I have been an entrepreneur my whole life. I grew up with a dad who worked at Boeing and a mom who was an entrepreneur, so I had kind of both examples to follow, and that's kind of my entire career was I usually had a regular job and I usually had a gig on the side. And that's just how I've always been. And then my husband and I ran a coaching business for 3 years full time, and that actually closed due to finances. So that's a big reason as to why I do what I do now. So I started the bookkeeping firm in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, and when I was laid off from my job, and then I kind of put it on hold when I went back to my job and started it up in 2022. So I've been doing books and accounting services for folks now it will be 4 years full time.
Wow. Yeah. So one of the things too, you said you're a mom. You have two littles at home. So tell us a little bit about your kiddos.
So my older kiddo is 7 now, but when he was little, I worked for the YMCA full time, and I was, during COVID times, it was really rough because they basically laid everybody off. I was one of the last people to be laid off, and my entire team was, laid off. So when I went back after 2 months of being furloughed, I knew it was going to be hard, and I made the decision to go back to help them kind of through that really hard period. And I was by myself doing all the work of like an entire team. So I was working more than 40 hours, and it was very hard because my kiddo was only 2.5 at the time. And so that was part of what motivated me to leave that following year was just, I've run a business before. I know that I could have more time freedom and work less and make more. So that's kind of what motivated me to leave.
Work less, make more. I like that equation. There's so many women, whether you're a young mom, you're mom of adult children, or maybe you're in a space where you're helping to care for your parents too. There's all these different pieces. So ladies, if you're a woman entrepreneur, let's take a breath together because we do a lot. There is a lot to life. And, we have things that come up, health challenges and all these different things. I know that has been part of your story too, with your youngest. I, remember you sharing your story a little bit online and walking through some really difficult times and still trying to run a business.
Okay. So my second child is only 1. So there's a big age gap. We were only going to have 1 kiddo, but now we have 2. And the reason we were only going to have 1 was because of the complications I had with my first and some of the trauma I went through. But even with birth control, I still became pregnant. So he was born at 28 weeks, and it was very scary. I had severe preeclampsia and was in the hospital for a long time. He was in the NICU for 94 days. So
wow.
Luckily, and he was born in August, was supposed to be born November 1st. I had luckily started the hiring process in
Mm-hmm.
April. So
Yeah.
I had only a few months to train my new bookkeeper on my team. She was amazing and she kind of held everything together. We basically met once a week for about 3 months. And I made sure that, anything that she needed help with, she got help with. But it was my business is the breadwinner of the family. So my husband, works somewhere and they're very, very supportive, but he only works 3 days a week now. So I'm the one that we rely on for income. So it was challenging, but at the same time, I would not have been able to take that much time off and only work 1-2 hours a week for 3 months if I worked anywhere else. So
Right.
um, it was freedom, but also a little scary just because of all the stress that came with the NICU and all the procedures and everything.
Right. And life doesn't stop. We
Mhm.
still have these things that come up that are unpredictable. You just mentioned that you had to move suddenly due to
Mhm.
water damage. I know so many people, it's like that you're trying to run this business and how can we do it profitably. I can't even say
Mhm.
that word. With some profit, working with the finances and putting that piece aside so you feel confident in what you're doing so you don't have to worry about it. And ladies, that's what today is about. Let's talk a little bit about finances. Money in you will be seeing her Chelsey's resource in this upcoming magazine coming out on January 30th. And it's one of the first pages. It says, money isn't just math, it's emotional. Girls, how many people of you have an emotion about your
Mhm.
finances? I have this story I think that I have lived with. I don't even know where it came from or why it is that I can't do finances, that I can't do my own books, or I'm scared to look at my numbers, Chelsey.
When I was running my first business, I was not formally trained in finance or bookkeeping or anything. And I remember, and we were just going off of our bank account
Hmm.
balance, which is what a lot of business owners do, especially as they start up. And I remember nights that I would not sleep because I was so concerned about, like, are we going to bring in enough sales? Are we going to make it to be able to pay our bills? And I just never really knew because I didn't have monthly books. What I would do back then was I would wait till all the years over and then take a whole week or 2 weeks and somehow get all my receipts. I would keep them in a little, they weren't even organized. And I would just snap pictures. I had an app that would snap all the pictures and then enter into like a database. But I know I missed things, and so I probably overpaid taxes at the time. I had no idea where I was month to month. And it was super stressful to do and I did my own taxes too. So I was winging it. I don't know what I was doing. I made a lot of mistakes.
And you survived. And now you do people's books. So, girls, there is hope. There's hope that you can feel safe when you're looking at your books and going, okay, because Chelsey, I have done some of these things that you suggested in this little resource here in this last year. And as we go through, I'm going to just mention a couple because, girls, sometimes it's just nice to know that you're not alone and that, somebody else is in that same spot that you are at. So what is, we're talking about confidence here, confidence in being able to take that step. So when people are coming to you, kind of what is their fear? Where are they at?
Oh, I would say sometimes more than fear, it's shame because they
Oh,
don't have their books up to date, right?
yeah.
And they think that they have to know everything and have done all this work. And when I look at a set of books, or maybe the lack of a set of books entirely, it's not coming with judgment. It's more of, okay, so what's your current situation? Where are you at? What do you have? Like, have you
Mhm.
filed taxes in the last couple of years or not? And so I have to kind of help someone figure out where their current reality is, and then figure out, well, here's the goal to be compliant with the government's taxes. And then there's also the goal of, like, more than just compliance of, you want information to be able to make decisions.
Yeah.
And that's where I look to data and your books. Data is powerful. And if you have good, accurate data, you can do so much more in strategy and planning and growing. So it's hard to know, it's hard to grow if you don't know where you're at and you don't know really where you're going with your money and your finances.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. And, we all have a story. We all have a money story. And however that came about, a lot of times our worth is so tied up into that money story. I'm not doing enough. I'm not worthy, whatever that looks like. And so that's why I think I've set mine aside, because I'm not sure I was willing to deal with it yet.
It's hard to face. Yeah.
But what I like what you said though, is that let's just see where we're at. Let's just take the judgment away, the shame away, or wherever you are, just take a note of where you're at. And I love that, because it just makes it simple. Let's just make it easy, girls.
Well, and I think when I talk to people, they think I know everything, for one, which I don't. I know a little bit more than them, and I've also made a lot of mistakes to find out that information myself. So I think I also don't speak accountant. Like I'm not talking up here and saying words that you don't understand.
Yeah.
When I talk to someone, I'm usually coming from a place of a business owner and, this is what I experienced. I'm not a tax professional, so I can't give tax advice, but I can certainly say, this is what I learned going through this. Let's avoid that if we can. For you.
Yes. And just, I think, kind of seeing where you're at, like you said, you will be able to make informed decisions. And really kind of take a look at where you're headed. And sometimes that might be good, and sometimes it might be kind of reality check, if you will.
Well, and when my husband and I closed our first business, it wasn't an easy decision, but we made that decision because we didn't have enough information. And I will say we also got a little bit burnt out in what we were doing. But the financial mismanagement was the reason, I think, partly we got burnt out, because we just felt like we didn't know what we were really working on. And I really, whether you keep your business, whether you change, whether you close, whatever it is, I want people to be able to make a decision based off of accuracy, not guessing.
There we go. Well said. I love that. So in this little exercise, you have a space to write kind of just your basic information, like your business, quick numbers review. What was your total revenue last month? Some ladies, that's not too hard to add up. If you have a small business, and some people it's more extensive. Your expenses, your net profit. So as you kind of walk through this, and then you're talking about cash flow, confidence, invoicing, those types of things. I like how it's just kind of taken a broad picture of everything that you're doing. And so kind of walk us through some of the pieces that are, and how we get these numbers and what to be looking for and why it's important.
Okay. So if you've watched Shark Tank, one of the biggest questions they ask are, what are your numbers? And I think, I love that show. But if you don't know even the basics of how much on average am I pulling in sales or revenue, how much am I spending for business purposes, not how much am I taking out to pay myself, but how much am I spending? Those two pieces are very important, and so if you're making $2,000 a month in revenue and your expenses are $1,000, that means your net is only $1,000. That's the money that you can use to pay yourself or save for taxes or invest in the business. And really most tax professionals want to break that apart where, 15% is saved for taxes, 15% might be reinvested in the business, and the remainder is your pay. And you can break that up, whatever ratio makes sense to you and your situation. But that's the very basic information that will help you not put yourself in a position that I was in, where I owed money to the IRS and didn't necessarily have it saved. So I had to do a payment plan. I had to call them up and wait on hold for 4 hours and then set a payment plan. Big mistake I made. So I really try to help people understand, okay, to be conservative, maybe save a little more, depending on everybody's situation is a little bit different. But the basics are money in, money out, and what does that leave you? And if you're overspending and relying on debt, it's not necessarily a shameful thing because debt can be used as a business to grow. But we want to make sure that growth is coming, right? And we're investing in the right things too.
Yes, there we go, girls. Yes. But at least this gives you a starting point, or kind of a reality check, because I think a lot of women think, oh, well, I'm going to do all this business. But if you haven't done that business in the last year, what is that? What is your forecast then? What's that going to look like? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes, it's hard because we put so much into our businesses. Our businesses kind of sometimes are our identity.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of identify, or it's our measure of success, or maybe, it's a passion project. And so you put your heart into it, all these different things. But, it has to, the dollars things cost money, to run. I mean, and especially in today's world where you are paying for, chat and for the Canva and all these, your mailing systems and your Calendly systems, all these pieces all cost. And so, Chelsey, this last year, I took a look at all my expenses, and that is one of the things that you talk about here. You talk about the expenses, and maybe one brave step for you is to look at those expenses and maybe see if you have subscriptions that you don't really need. I did that.
Yeah.
I canceled all these subscriptions, and I really looked at even like going to networking events, how much I was spending on that.
Yep.
And was that helping really to grow my business? And so I had to start saying no to things.
Yeah. And even if you don't have a set of books, like if you're not keeping track in Excel or you're not keeping track on QuickBooks or something like that, you can take 3 bank statements. I always say 3 months is a good average, and go through line by line and see what you don't need. That's a really great way to audit your expenses of like, what can I get rid of? What am I not even using anymore? Mm-hmm. Or what can I go to the free version? Like if I don't really need this robust thing, because sometimes they do have a free version.
Right.
And so like my tech stack is heavy because I'm a bookkeeper, but I still go through every year and I review my tech stack and see what can I get rid of? What do I need still? Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing to do as a business owner. So.
Yeah. So girls, maybe put in your calendar. So if your one brave step with your finances might be to just take a highlighter, like Chelsey said, take 3 bank statements, maybe a highlighter, print it off and go, I don't know that I need these anymore. So we'd love to hear what your one brave step in your finances. Are you going to take a look at them?
Right.
I actually put in my calendar that I take a look at my bank statement every Monday.
Oh, good.
Do I always do it? No, because after a while it just kind of goes, my eyes go right past it. So I have to change the color of it. I'll make it red or something. But I do try to do that so I at least know where I'm at, because I used to not look, to be quite honest. I was just like, okay, we're just, I'm just doing what I'm doing and not really taking. And I know for myself, this is really important because I have not been numbers. I don't know why they scare me. Anybody else out there where you're like, I don't know, I have a fear of numbers. It's like, maybe I was told when I was young or something that I wasn't good at numbers, or that, I don't know, but I am trying to overcome that fear.
Yes. And I wanted to add one more tip. And I think this was a great advice I got a long time ago that I applied even before I was in the finance industry. Having a separate business checking from your personal is very, very important. Even if you're a sole proprietor and you're just, getting 1099 income or something, that's fine. But having a separate checking account is very important. It will allow you to see your business finances better. And then when you do grow to a point where you have either bookkeeping software or a bookkeeper or somebody helping you, it's cheaper if you're not commingling.
Okay.
So I always tell people, if you're commingling your personal and your business finances, bookkeeping costs more because it takes more work for me to go through and make sure we have everything clean.
Right. Absolutely. I know that was one thing. Luckily, okay, girls, you don't have to do this all alone. There are people like Chelsey who are here for you. And I was really blessed when I started my business, some 10 years ago, that I had some people kind of give me some of those tips. They said right out of the gate, this is how you set up a business. This is what you do. And ladies, there are free resources out there too.
Mhm.
There's one that I checked into when I was first started. There, what's it called? It's like ex CEOs of companies, and it's starts with an S. So, girls, somebody help me out here. I want to say script, but that's not it. I'll think of it and put it in the chat notes. But yeah, there's different things that people that can guide you, that can help you. And we've got a lot of ladies right here in our community, like Chelsey, in different areas that can walk with you or give you a tip, to reach out. That's what we're here for. And they'll let you know if it's a paid service or not, or if they can just give you a direction to head. So we want you to feel comfortable to go, hey, yeah, I might need help, but Chelsey, this is just a really great, simple, easy to understand little worksheet that you can just start the year off, girls. This is a great exercise. It's maybe 10 minutes of to take 10 minutes out of one day and just see where you're at, because I think that will, like you said, give you a little sense of peace and a little confidence of knowing where you're at.
Yeah. Well, and I will tell you too, I offer a lot of free resources through my Instagram. I post all the time about all kinds of things. But I think, especially in the world of finance, there's so much information to know. Sometimes just being around someone that talks about it, you start to learn. And that's why I share what I share in my social media, because there's a lot of, it's a lot of content, a lot of information, but you have to start somewhere.
You do have to start somewhere, yes, and if you don't take care of your finances, it might come and kind of get you down the road a little bit. So, what would be one action step, one brave step that maybe a gal hasn't done any of this before? What's her first step?
Well, I to keep it really simple, I would look at your bank statements and just, because that can be private. You don't have to share it with anybody. You can just do a little self audit of where you're at. And if you don't have a separate business bank account, an even simpler step. And even if you're a sole proprietor, you don't have to go open a business checking account. Just open a separate personal checking account. Because if you're a sole proprietor, a lot of banks won't open a business account for you. You don't have an EIN. So an EIN is a tax ID number for a business. So even having a separate personal checking that is in the same bank, can be in the same bank as your personal, that's a really basic step if you're not there yet. And then if you are, look at those expenses. If you have commingled accounts, you could take a highlighter and highlight just the business transactions. That's one way to kind of see where you're at too.
Yeah. That is great. And I am going to take one. I'm actually going to walk through the worksheet. I'm excited to see where I'm at and just kind of take note for this next year as I walk forward, because I'm walking in a new path here with this Being Brave tour. And so, I'm switching how money is coming in. I stopped my subscriptions and I'm in a new space. So I'm kind of starting over again. So this is kind of exciting to be able to take a look, see where I'm headed. And if any of the other girls out there, are like that, where you're maybe pivoting, this is a good time to kind of re-examine where you're at and where your finances are at and how everything's going to get paid for, and what you need to bring in to make it all happen, to make that dream come true for you. So, wow. And girls, we're just asking for one brave step, one action step, and we're here for you. Yeah. Chelsey, what else? Anything else you would like to leave these ladies with before we sign off?
I will just say, don't let fear or shame get in the way of asking for help. If that's what you need, I do free consults all the time with people that don't end up with I'm not their bookkeeper, but it's sometimes nice to talk to somebody, do a free consult. It doesn't have to be me, it could be anybody, where you can just get an idea of where you need to go next.
Yeah. And so let's talk just real briefly too. So when they walk through this and they write down these numbers, their expenses, their, all the different things, their revenue, what do they do with this information once they have filled this out?
Well, it depends. I mean, it kind of depends. Everybody's in a different spot, so it's hard to say like what their next step is. But if I was still running my coaching business and I filled that out, I would probably reach out to either a tax professional or, depending on what time of year it is, or a bookkeeper. Now it's January, so most tax professionals are slammed right now, so they're not really taking free consults.
Yeah.
But January through April is hard to necessarily talk to somebody unless you already have a CPA that you work with. But bookkeepers like me have more time freedom generally, depending on the business, and so I do have openings for consults, but also for new clients if they really want hand-holding on getting their books done. I don't have a do-it-yourself course. It's something I'm working on. So that's going to come later this year, where someone can, get trained to do their own books. Cause that's kind of, not everybody wants that, but that's me. Like, I wanted to do my own books when I was a business owner with my first business. And, I wish I had had a course that I could have taken just to give me some information, but back then that I didn't even look for it.
Yeah. So let's say somebody has QuickBooks. Is that something that you can work with too? Because I have QuickBooks, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't even know really how to, and because it's just not, like I said, numbers are not my love.
QuickBooks there's two kind of QuickBooks. There's QuickBooks Online, where you can sign in from any computer. And then there's QuickBooks Desktop, which not many people have anymore, but that's specific to a computer. I only work with the online version, but I do convert people over if they have the older version. And if you've ever used like a budgeting tool like mint.com or Monarch or Rocket Money, any of those apps out there that like let you budget your personal stuff, QuickBooks Online is similar. It's not the same, but it's similar. And I'd say it's a lot more comprehensive than a personal budgeting tool. So QuickBooks Online is what I specialize in. It's really the exclusive accounting software that I use. But it can get messed up pretty quick. And so that's why, if you've never used QuickBooks, I would either take a course or have someone to help you set it up at least. Like I've set people up on it, got their chart of accounts ready to go, taught them a few quick things to watch out for, and then away they go. But that's why I want to offer a course, because I can't train everybody one-on-one. So I'm going to be doing a course later this year to offer that, so people like me that want to do it themselves that can.
Yeah, I love that. I love being able to have some things for those ladies who can do it want to do it on their own, but they really kind of want a girlfriend to kind of help walk them through it. Because there's stuff online, but it's like, don't get you. You need somebody that you can understand, that's kind of speaking your language, and that's what I find with you. Like you said, you know your clients and where they're at with the speak, if you will. It's kind of speaking their language.
Yeah. Yes, I know a lot of accountants, and they don't even talk my language, and I'm like, wow, okay. I'm not sure how you talk to your clients, but woo.
I love that. Well, this was just so heartwarming to know that we can walk forward with our finances, with confidence, with peace. Oh, I just want to take this big, huge breath, and it's like, it doesn't have to be hard.
I will tell you, with the first year when I was doing my own books as a formal bookkeeper, I didn't have to scramble.
Whoops, I think we are paused. Chelsey, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. You're back.
Okay. Where did I leave off? Sorry, my internet.
Yeah, just right at you were right at the beginning there.
Okay, so the first year that I had been doing my own books as a formal bookkeeper, and I was doing monthly books for myself, I was not scrambling at year end to get all the information for my tax person. I did hire a professional tax person too, which was a big deal for me. But I felt like if I'm a bookkeeper, I should probably do what I tell my clients, which is have a tax professional. And so it was such a relief. It took me like an hour to like give her my stuff. And that was it. It was so different than spending an entire week of my life to do it.
Exactly. And then if you're looking at your finances and then you realize, oh, wait, I need to, save $100 a
Yep.
month or whatever to pay taxes and to pay for that tax professional. So
Yes.
then it's not a burden that, come, February, March, or April. And so just to
Right.
be able to plan those things ahead of time. And so,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
super great. I love this conversation. And like you said, so what a relief. We
Yeah.
just, ladies, let's just take something off our plate. You've got so much life happening, so many other things to take care of, so many other humans to care for.
Right.
Let's, if it's something that's not your love, maybe it's time to delegate that piece. So, Chelsey, thank you for coming and sharing a little bit of your story. You have a busy family, busy life, and just wish you all well there. And so, thanks for coming and just giving us a little confidence today. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Karen. Have a great day. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
You bet. We'll see you next time, girls.
Thanks.